KatFTWynners, I'm your host KatFTWynn, and I'm here with...
River.
And we are starting back with Ruby, Chapter 2, or Part 2, however we want to call it. So,
Either way.
Yep, and we shall continue from their hug.
As we last left off, Tom is free from his cell, but both he and Ruby are still stuck in an unfamiliar place.
Both go up ladder?
Tom and Ruby both go back up to the room Ruby woke up in.
Hot, sweaty, terrified sex to comfort each other in this horrifying place.
Ruby is far too shy to do something like that with a stranger, especially in this situation, especially with the fact that there could be hidden cameras watching. It's not the kind of thing she'd want to have someone get on tape. Besides, there are more pressing matters right now.
Ask Tom what he has in his pockets.
Tom is carrying the can opener Ruby found, as well as a tap and one unopened condom.
One unopened condom. Sweet. Check for cameras, get really drunk, and then have sex.
There are no cameras visible here, but Ruby is still too self-conscious to ignore the possibility that they might just be hidden. Also, there's no alcohol around.
God damn it! Stop it with dose sex. I think that's what it's trying to say.
I have no idea.
Inspect the fish tank.
A few large fish-shaped shadows move through the murky water beyond the large porthole. It's hard to see much of anything through it.
Ask the bugger if he knows what this place is and why he was imprisoned.
Tom already explained he woke up in his cell downstairs and doesn't know what this place is.
Ask him to demonstrate his manly physique by pushing the barrel over to the side to see what's under it.
No problem for a strong man like Tom.
Inspect cubbyhole.
The small recess in the wall doesn't lead anywhere. However, there is yet another access card inside. Tom pockets it.
Also, ask Tom why he has a condom.
Tom says he doesn't know. He just woke up with it in his pockets. He doesn't remember carrying it.
After we inspect the new niche, we pull the lever.
Tom and Ruby head back down the access hatch. The lever is rather high. It's possible that even the two of them together won't be able to reach it.
Have Tom push barrel down the open ladderless hatch.
Look out below.
The barrel got a little crushed on the impact. My bad. Shit. That was supposed to be River. Tom flipped the barrel over so that the open end is on the floor. Ruby climbs onto the barrel. Tom climbs onto Ruby and Tom pulls the lever.
Tom flips over the barrel, but Ruby realizes that with her girlish figure, she'd never be able to lift Tom.
I guess Ruby will have to get on Tom's shoulders then. Tell Tom no peeking.
Tom obligingly lifts Ruby up with some effort, and they balance precariously on the dented barrel. Ruby reaches for the pull switch. Ruby yanks the pull switch down with determined force. Something upstairs gives a low, ominous rumble that echoes through the walls. The pull switch cord suddenly snaps up into the ceiling. The noise has stopped.
Hey, someone's peeking! I didn't even notice that. Go back up and see what that noise was.
Upon climbing back up the access hatch, the change seems immediately obvious. Whoops.
Step through carefully into the darkness.
Ruby decides they should both simultaneously step blindly into the darkness beyond the doorway. Tom is eaten by a grue. Ruby is eaten by a grue.
What's a grue?
It's a reference to an old computer game.
Okay.
If it gets dark, you're eaten by a grue.
Oh.
As they enter the room, the lights suddenly turn on. Luckily for them, there appears to be no danger here. There is a sealed door to the west with a padlock.
Check the console. If it's inoperable, we should try the card in that slot.
Tom slips the card into the slot, where it disappears with a click. However, there's no response from the console whatsoever. It's not even turning on.
Are we standing on a trapdoor?
No, but there's a rectangular imprint here, as if something used to be here.
So, is that the door we came in by the bottom of the screen?
Yes.
Inspect the strange hook-like thing on the wall.
There's some sort of raised rectangle on the wall, which prominently features some strange marking. At the bottom of the marking, where the lines meet, there's a cross-shaped indentation.
Let's check that box thing in the corner. Maybe it'd open that?
The box doesn't appear locked, but around the latch it's been sealed shut with looks like glue or caulk.
What is that thing on top of the locker to the right?
Some kind of disc lies on top of the locker. It features an image of an eye and has a single protrusion.
Poke it now. In the eye.
Tom gives Ruby a strange look as she pokes the eye. It feels like wood and doesn't react in any way.
Take the disc.
Ruby grabs and pockets the wooden disc.
Use tiny key unlock.
The tiny key from the treasure box has already been used up.
Go back to the Z-hatch room and grab the letter opener so we can pry open the chest.
Ruby heads back to the Z room, back to the room beyond the Z-hatch.
Inspect the eye to see what happened to the letter opener. Also, compare the eye Ruby is carrying to the bloody eye on the wall.
Dark red stains have trailed down from the eye. The letter opener is gone. The eyes are similar in that they are both eyes, but they're not particularly distinctive and they're obviously not the same size.
Ruby should take a closer look at that pipe. Is the blue stripe painted on, or is that a window into the interior?
Upon close inspection, the pipe running from the ceiling to the east wall is painted with a blue stripe, probably for identification purposes.
What do things look like in the zombie closet now?
Nothing's changed. It's still a rather bare and bloody closet.
Inspect the wall safe.
Nothing new there either. Still locked, the cabinet refuses to budge.
Is it possible to use the disc on the wall safe/cabinet?
There doesn't appear to be any way the disc can work on the safe. Further, the circular symbol on the safe is not a recess, it's simply painted on.
Move couch, or call for Tom to assist with couch moving? Actually, just go check on Tom and bring him along.
Ruby returns upstairs to get Tom to come down with her. Ruby and Tom return to the room. Tom doesn't look so well. Ruby realizes Tom hasn't seen this room yet.
Comfort Tom. Remind him that we're
Herbivorous?
That. Bunny girl. And he's supposed to be Mr. Cat guy. If we can stomach it, so can he. We're a herbivorous bunny girl. TG, a herbivorous bunny girl. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Move couch.
Ruby politely asks Tom to move the couch. With his manly physique, the task is no problem, and the wide couch slides away from the wall, revealing a small access hatch, even smaller than the Z-hatch used to enter this room. It appears to open into a lit room on the other side.
Carefully peek into the other room. Carefully.
Ruby kneels down to see that the room beyond has bare metal walls and exposed pipes and circuitry. And is probably some sort of maintenance area. There don't appear to be any immediate dangers like people, fire, or big obvious traps. Due to the size of the hatch, however, only Ruby, with her girlish figure, would be able to squeeze through. Tom would have to stay behind somewhere.
This is seriously like the worst porno ever. Get out the can opener for self-defense.
Ruby requests the can opener back from Tom, who returns it.
Crawl through the hatch and have Tom wait back in his cell where he won't be at risk for being driven insane by the blood.
Tom agrees to wait while you found him, rather than in the bloody room. Ruby crawls through. Ruby emerges in the new room, which does indeed appear to be a maintenance room. Piping is everywhere. A glass tube runs to the ceiling, and the east wall features a vent and a circuit board. The blue pipe runs through here.
Who the fuck is that? Ask them nicely. Have Ruby wave at the person looking at her.
There's no one in the room but Ruby.
Inspect everything.
There's a circuit board on the east wall. It appears to be missing a square component, but no wires are damaged. Above is a closed vent. There's a device containing purple liquid, with some sort of plug-like hole set in it, and beneath that, drips of purple. There's no visible faucet to remove the liquid. There's what appears to be a pneumatic tube running through the ceiling, with a small compartment here. There's a metal transfer compartment in the wall, like a bank deposit drawer. There's a strange device near the west wall with an LED readout that reads "Sample," but has no obvious buttons, controls, or instructions beyond that.
Recheck inventory.
Ruby is carrying 2 coins, rubber gloves, a button diagram, a ball of string, and a can opener.
Get a cup from the water cooler and get some of that purple drink there.
There are no cups here, and even if there was, there's no faucet on the front of the liquid's container, just a socket.
Open the metal drawer.
There appears to be something inside.
Put on gloves, do we still have them? And pick up the severed hand to see if there's anything under it.
Ruby uses her gloves to pick up the icky hand, but there's only stains underneath it. She can't tell how it was severed, but it looks fairly fresh.
Look out the window and scout the surroundings.
At this angle, Ruby can't see much in the small adjacent room, save for 3 things. 1. Some sort of dummy on a post. 2. A large red stain on the opposite wall. 3. A round device on the wall. Looks like a clock.
Get tap from Tom.
Ruby calls to Tom, who tosses his tap through the hatch for her.
Attach the tap to the purple water cooler.
Ruby attaches the tap to the container of purple liquid, which now seems ready to dispense.
Fill 1 glove with purple drink and tie it off.
The gloves are too thick and sturdy to just tie off with thin string. They certainly wouldn't keep the liquid in.
Put severed hand in pneumatic mail chute.
Ruby puts the disembodied hand into the pneumatic chute. As soon as the chute's door is closed, the sound of loud pneumatic pressure comes from the tube. The hand quickly and messily travels up the tube and out of sight.
Use Tom's condom to hold the purple stuff.
Ruby calls Tom to the hatch and explains that she needs his condom. Tom gets an odd look on his face.
Explain what we intend to do with it.
Tom's expression changes, but passes the condom through the hatch nevertheless.
Tom, can I have your condom? No, not for that reason. Aww.
Ruby unwraps the condom and fills it with the purple liquid, which smells unpleasantly plastic.
Pour some of the liquid into that funnel thing on the left.
In a somewhat unpleasant move, Ruby tips the condom upside down and pours out the purple liquid into the funnel. The LED display changes after a moment. No cure.
Put on the gloves and take some of the blood from the box. Like scoop it out or just get some blood some way and use it or put it in the sampler.
Ruby uses the gloves to drip a quantity of blood into the funnel, which prompts a new LED display. Sample inert.
This gives me an idea. Why not put the blood of the zombie inside the sampler and see what happens?
Ruby flicks some of the spilt blood into the sampler, which displays yet another new prompt. Sample contaminated. Please insert a less dilute sample.
Have Ruby use the glove and collect a sample directly from the head.
Ruby crawls out of the hatch to get a sample from the head itself. That's odd.
Ask Tom if the head was still there when he was in his cell just before.
Tom insists that he was just in the other room and the head was still there. He definitely didn't see it come through here. Tom speculates that if it went anywhere, there would be a blood trail. He suggests perhaps it simply dissolved like the rest of the body. Tom's looking a little uneasy again.
Might want to go get some fresh air.
Ruby and Tom move back into the prism room for fresher air.
Kiss if appropriable.
Ruby contemplates kissing Tom and wonders if he might get the wrong idea.
No, you fool. If we're infected, he catches it through transmission of bodily fluids, and if he's infected, we catch it.
Tom begins vomiting.
Oh, beautiful.
Tom says he's having excruciating, sharp stomach pains. He says he wasn't feeling this before. It's very sudden.
Sample the blood. Use on checker. Do it fast. He might be dying. A lot of stress might have caused a stomach ulcer or worse.
Ruby dabs some blood on one of the fingers of the glove and excuses herself. She promises to be right back. Back at the sampler, Ruby inserts a sample of Tom's blood and the LED triggers a familiar message. Maybe the machine isn't made to analyze blood. Sample contaminated. Please insert a less dilute sample.
Give Tom some of the purple stuff. If it really is a cure of some sort, it'll help him. If not, well, he's fucked anyway. It's worth the risk. Are you fucking crazy? The machine said there's no cure for the purple stuff. And all we know, this purple stuff is what caused the zombies in the first place. The machine just obviously wasn't made for blood samples. I don't think Tom's gonna be too keen on drinking something that comes out of a condom. Especially mental image of Ruby drinking something out of a condom. Why do I find that so hot?
Ruby considers her options carefully. Tom's suddenly sick and there are no doctors around. This could be serious.
Look behind you! Nervously wave.
It's just a mirror.
Try mixing blood with the purple stuff.
Thinking of no other way to do it, Ruby pours a little of the purple stuff from the tap to the floor, then flicks blood from it onto it from the glove. It hisses and smokes violently. It smells caustic, like burnt plastic.
Use purple stuff on fish.
Ruby goes back to the other room, retrieves the last 2 fish from the tank and touches one of them to the purple puddle. It sizzles and smokes visibly, and the scales start to dissolve slightly.
That little eye token, would that fit into the missing spot on the circuit board?
No, The disc is thick and circular. The missing spot on the circuit board is small and square.
Use fish on analyzer.
Ruby, feeling a bit disgusted, mashes up the fish as best she can to try to get it in the funnel. Moments after Ruby inserts the fish paste into the funnel, a new message appears on the LED display. Arsenic. A few seconds later, a new display comes up. Treatment found. Dimercurocaptosuccinic acid. A third message pops up with a loud buzzing sound. Evidently something is not receiving power. Requesting Succumer treatment. Error. Main power grid is offline.
Fill condom with purple fluid. Bring purple fluid upstairs.
Ruby fills the condom with purple fluid, ties it off for safety, and heads back out. Tom's looking unhealthy.
Use fluid on glue.
Ruby fumbles with the condom, rather unfamiliar with these things, and finally tears it open a bit harder than she intended to.
Delicious virgin? That or she likes it raw.
Thankfully, she avoids contact with the purple stuff, and it spills all over the glue. It doesn't damage the box, but the glue dissolves rapidly. Inside the box, Ruby finds a small electronic chip and a longshoreman's hook. She takes both.
Put the chip in the circuit board so we can restore power. Hopefully. Also, fuck your pirate hand. Oh no, fuck your pirate hand. Do a pirate impression to lighten the mood.
Ruby heads downstairs on her way to the circuit board. She explains to Tom that he has arsenic poisoning, and she's going to get a cure for him. Also, to lighten the mood, Ruby does her best pirate impersonation, complete with the voice. Tom smiles weakly. Ruby plugs the chip into the circuit board, and the frame glows a bright green as the air around her hums warmly. Power must be back on. Suddenly, something mechanical in the walls moves, and a filled vial suddenly pops up with a pneumatic whoosh from the analyzer. Unfortunately, returning the power grid to full functionality seems to have triggered another effect as well. The room is bathed in red light. A loud hissing sound comes from above the circuit board as the blinds on the duct open and start venting something into the room.
Remove the chip.
The circuit board is protected by the green field. Even with the rubber gloves on, it's too painful for Ruby to touch.
Turn on pneumatic tube.
The pneumatic tube only works when it's closed.
Break the tube.
Summoning all her strength, Ruby bashes open the pneumatic tube with the door still closed. An impressive vacuum force begins drawing in the noxious smoke, but it's a temporary solution. The gas is still pouring in and the room is still sealed.
I had to leave 15 minutes ago, but my finger is glued to the F5 button. Break mirror.
Ruby decides she has no other choice. The mirror has to go. Maybe, just maybe, it will provoke a good reaction. Ruby rears back, then smashes at the barrier before her, and the mirror shatters with an echoing cacophony of breaking glass. Ruby has broken the mirror.
Totally forgot about that. That is it. I have had it with these motherfucking monsters in this motherfucking lab. Hook. Jesus. Electrocution.
The alarm seems to have stopped. The hatch door is open again. Ruby feels like she is about to black out. The world is closing in around Ruby. Everything goes black.
End of chapter 2. Cliffhanger. We will see you guys in the next part. So keep winning at life, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.